Спасибо.
Thank you for coming on a Saturday morning. It's a pleasure to see all of you here in this room. It's great to see more people in the room. And the title of my presentation is Unseen Helpers, and I'll be talking about how company employees can consciously or unconsciously compromise data, therefore helping attackers to penetrate the company's infrastructure. My name is Ekaterina Nikerina. I am head of the Avito anti-fraud team. Avito is the largest classified platform in the world, at least this is what our bosses say. And in addition to providing external anti-fraud, we also investigate internal fraud. During my career, I realized that anything goes. Users, employees, they do crazy stuff. Just for the sake of an example, you can go to a social medium to identify lots of gray area services when people sell information on companies, private individuals to others. However, they have no right to do so. And this is not a one-off exercise. There are lots of cases like that within a single day, which means that we are facing a systematic problem. Of course, such people are put into prison. There are lots of headlines about that, and the statistics show that just in a couple of years, the Russian courts returned verdicts on 500 personal data manipulation verdicts. So let me dwell into what we mean by manipulation of confidential data. That's personal data, selling personal data that I mentioned a couple of slides back. However, personal data selling is probably not the most popular offense. The most popular offense is about stealing money from the accounts of individuals and companies. It's still the largest problem. Well, just recently, we've seen the following examples. A bank employee in Arkhangelsk leaked data on 600 accounts. Money was stolen for a total of 8.5 million Russian rubles. Regional communications operator, as well as sales director, would draw loans using personal data of the customers. He was imprisoned for 2 years, but both the bank and the operator suffered not just financial losses but also reputational losses. You cannot just withdraw cash, but if you have access to accounts, you can engage in various manipulations, such as changing the limits, switching off or on some services. Let me give you the following example. It's a well-known one. Just recently, a bank employee, a bank officer, would increase the overdraft limits for credit cards, and he was imprisoned for 5 years and 3 months, but the bank suffered considerable losses. Even if you're not a bank or an operator, you can still have some data which might be in demand in the so-called gray market. Just recently, 2 policemen sold access to a database that stores images from CCTV cameras all around Moscow. In other words, an attacker could get for a small amount of money information on the movements of his victim around Moscow in the past few years. Companies don't want to publish certain information, and we all have sales managers who, when fired, can take the customer database, your contract database along with them, and 60% of the employees actually take classified documents from their employers when they get fired. And this is the most conservative evaluation. 500 verdicts returned by courts means that the courts had enough information to return the verdicts. But most of these problems are settled outside of court, so that no reputational losses are suffered by banks and companies. But this figure, 500, is still very significant. And the statistics means, well, 152 cases were under Article 272. That's
операторов связи, которые продают данные.
Unauthorized access to computer information. Even healthcare professionals can sell data on the deceased to the funeral agencies. 37 cases were under Article 183, that's divulging commercial or tax or banking secrets. That's the most widespread insider information trading. And 25 cases were under Article 159.6, fraud with computer information by abusing your right of office. Knowing such statistics, we understand that we need to manage the situation. However, we need to deep dive into the root cause. Is it the insufficient salaries, or are such frauds so profitable that people are willing to engage in them? People can be split into three main categories. The first reason would be, I need the money. This is the direct monetary motivation. The second category is, you deserve that. That's an emotional reason. Oftentimes, it's a willingness to revenge, or a belief that this data should be made public. And the third category is just, oops, people didn't know that what they were doing was an offense. And I believe that this is the most dangerous category, because these are a totally unpredictable category. People don't know what the value of the data is, and how come they cannot divulge it to someone else, especially for money. Oftentimes, this category is a consequence of the first two reasons. Either you ignore the job description, or the lack of such requirements in the company. So you might ask me a question. Well, it's not a people problem, right? It's the problem of the anti-fraud department or the security department. So my response to that would be as follows. Currently, it's impossible to have so many job descriptions, or control these job descriptions, and the companies provoke such processes because certain employees have access to and can manipulate, either consciously or subconsciously, such data. So let me talk about the most vulnerable categories of such employees.
Достаточно большой свободы действий и индивидуальным подходом к клиентам и к партнерам.
Account managers, this is the most vulnerable category. If you don't run due diligence, then personal relations could evolve into other types of relations. If the company does not set certain limits, or don't have internal controls, if, for instance, you can download or migrate to the customer database in Excel, people will do that. If the paper flow is not strictly controlled, then the papers will not be brought to the right person. What basic rules you need to have to minimize these risks? So that's the CRM system. Having your own compliance and establishing conflict of interest when you sign contracts. As for the help desk, that's a totally different story. A help desk is a low qualification pool of employees. Oftentimes, the churn, the turnover is extremely high.
Показывать профит. К чему это может привести? В компании может сложиться желание вгрузить в сотрудника как можно больше информации.
The company wants to put too much information to an employee, and help desk employees have more information than they really need to make a right decision. In addition to that, and this is especially true for e-commerce, If the security department or the anti-fraud blocks a user and the user starts complaining or sending messages or trying to explain the situation, oftentimes he or she gets unblocked and for the help desk not to escalate such problems to the anti-fraud department. Anti-fraud department enables the help desk to make a decision on whether to block or unblock a user, and that means that personal ideas might influence this decision. Sometimes they break the rules because their job description says one thing, but there could be some gray areas, especially in specific cases, so that an employee would interpret for the benefit of a user. This is business as usual because help desk people are just people. They don't want any conflicts, so they try to defend the interests of a customer. They try to help them. How do we control risks like that? First and foremost, you have to highlight your data. You'll be able to monitor the leakages. Monitor the anomalies. All the sensitive actions are logged. They're monitored. In addition to being monitored, they can be analyzed for anomalies. Use the 4I principle. One person does something, another one confirms that, or one person does something, another one double checks that after a certain time. External audit is a must because the internal audit fails after a certain time. Content and marketing managers, these are highly qualified employees. They know how to deal with negative complaints, but when an incident happens, they have to deal with the security department that results in a high stress and a need for quick response. And if they don't have standard operating procedure, or if they need to disclose additional information, which is often the case when anti-fraud technologies are used, it might lead to improper results. What do we do to rectify that? Have the metrics of reputational risks and threats, a standing operation procedure, and a threat mitigation plan. Any employee can manipulate your data if you run into the following problems. If you don't have compliance and information disclosure rules, if you don't have the right consequences in place, let's say an employee discloses some secret deal or the principles of operation of your system, and you just don't punish it, but just tell him off, that might lead to negative results. And staff training is another problem faced by the security department. You can run external audit, you can use mystery shoppers. For instance, your own employee try to buy data about your company. Staff training I already mentioned, and the security advocates or security champions programs. The new functions are released so frequently that the security teams cannot cover everyone. Therefore, it's important to be able to have a person who understands the situation and can control it. That's valuable. To sum up, overall, how can we considerably reduce the risks of your company data manipulation? Comprehensive external audit, not just internal, but external audit. Splitting roles and responsibilities do not give people more influence than they need. The 4I principle, one person does something, another one double checks it. Developing standing operating procedures and proper incident investigation. I already told you about security champions, and OSINT, open source intelligence, is another helpful thing. Business is a simple thing. The only difficulty pertaining to business is people. Thank you so much for your attention.